Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on Business Incorporated. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. On the program today, Iran seeks exemptions as OPEC awaits approval from Russia to impose production cuts. UK's Tullow Oil seeking partners in bid for additional Ghana block. Plus, Fitch keeps South Africa's sovereign rating unchanged. Let's get the show started now with the markets. And on the African continent, Egypt is not trading today as the markets are closed for the weekend. Nigeria's stock index was down 0.10% at intraday, while Egypt rebounded, or rather Kenya rebounded. South Africa rebounded up 0.87%. Kenya closed in the negative on Thursday. In the Middle East, the markets are closed, but sentiment was mixed on Thursday. While Abu Dhabi and Qatar were trading in the green zone, Dubai and Saudi were in the red, with Dubai recording higher losses. In Europe, stocks were higher on Friday morning as investors monitored a fresh batch of economic data after the U.S. Central Bank delivered a bullish assessment of the world's largest economy. Well, investors also have their eye on other developments. Let's bring in Paul now to bring us up to speed with that. Hello, Paul. Good afternoon. A beautiful Friday to you.
Hey, good afternoon.
So after 18 years at the helm, Angela Merkel handing the baton to a new party leader who will almost certainly become the next government leader in the future. Three contenders are in the race. Who are they and what are their chances? And are the results out at the moment?
Well, it is a historic day for Germany, and before I go into the detail of who's up there, I want to challenge you, Jimmy, to say one of the names. It is Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer. A terribly easy name, isn't it? Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer. That is actually one of the contenders, and it is the one Merkel does prefer to succeed her. Now, to make this clear in the beginning, Merkel is not going to just disappear. She's going to stay chancellor for the next 3 years, or at least that is her plan. But as a party leader, she will not go out today as a party leader, and so this is a part of a transition phase. So we've got a young contender. He's called Jens Spahn. And he has challenged Merkel on several issues, particularly migration. But his chances are considered rather low. He's only at about 10% of the votes, probably. And so that's not where the interesting stuff happens. The interesting stuff happens between the other two contenders. There is Friedrich Merz. He used to be in the party until about 10 years ago. He decided to take off and go into business as a lawyer, made millions as a lawyer. He is currently working for BlackRock, the financial institution, and that is seen as critical actually in Germany, because there's sort of this doubt about people who've made too much money. But he is challenging Merkel quite as a conservative, trying to get the party back towards more of the right when Merkel moved it to the center. And then there is the infamously named Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer. She has been labeled as a sort of mini Merkel. She does stand for sort of the continuation of Merkel's politics, although she does have some differences. For example, she is pushing for a stronger or a tougher line against Vladimir Putin and Russia. This is a very, very close race, and we'll be watching it all day, practicing our Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, and a historic day for Germany.
OPEC is still making news. What are investors in Europe making of the fact that that group makes its production cut conditional on the decision of non-OPEC member Russia?
Investors here in Frankfurt and in Europe are very much aware of how much power OPEC has lost, and some have pointed, when I spoke to them, some of them pointed to the 70s, when during the oil crisis, really, OPEC managed to effectively drain gas stations here in Germany, with nobody able to fuel up their cars. That kind of power no longer exists, especially after 2016 when OPEC joined forces with Russia. And that sort of creates a crisis within OPEC, because since 2016, smaller countries have worried about them losing influence, really, in this cartel. Now we see that Iran is trying to get exemptions from the oil cut. The cartel is waiting on Russia to make a decision on how much it's going to cut. And that how much is really the crucial question, because cutting too much would be giving even more market share to others. As, for example, the U.S., which has become, due to the shale boom, really the top exporter and is now a net exporter, actually, as of last week, of crude oil, has become vastly important here. And if they cut too little, then it's not going to really benefit the oil price, and profitability is a big problem in the OPEC.
Well, Paul, it's been quite a tumultuous week for stock markets. Is it going to get any better next week?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be still another tough week, and this one was particularly bad, really. It all started really positively on Monday after the G20 summit, when there was joy about a truce between the U.S. and China. And then it started to fade, and with the arrest of Huawei CFO on Thursday, it all went downhill. FTSE 100 had its worst day since the Brexit referendum. That's got to say something. The DAX lost over 15% this week, and is now in a bear market, actually, for the whole year, has lost over 20%. Next week, we're going to continue the Brexit worries, because on Tuesday, Theresa May will have to, well, bring the divorce papers up to Parliament, and right now it doesn't look like there's going to be an easy solution. Parliament is not liking what they've seen from the Brexit deal made negotiated with the EU, and it's likely they will vote it down. But what will happen after that is wide open. Nobody really knows. On top of that, we are likely to see a new draft of an Italian budget coming up next week, so that will definitely be interesting for markets. And on Thursday, the European Central Bank is going to meet, and likely going to tell us that they're finally fading out their asset purchasing program, but we'll keep our eyes peeled for that.
Sure, we'll look out for those developments next week. Well, it's been a wonderful week out here with you, Paul. Enjoy the rest of the day and, of course, the weekend. Thank you for your time. In Asia, shares were mostly higher on Friday on the back of a report suggesting the U.S. Federal Reserve could consider a slower tempo of increasing interest rates than had been previously expected. The hard-hit mainland Chinese markets ended the trading day mostly unchanged, with both the Shanghai Composite and the Shenzhen Composite largely flat. Meanwhile, the Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong traded down by around 0.1%. Japan's Nikkei 225 rose 0.82%, while the Topix Index gained 0.61%. Over in South Korea, the Kospi gained 0.34%. The ASX 200 in Australia rose 0.42%.